Welcome everyone to the webinar today. Let me put my presentation on full screen. Okay, can you see that, guys? Full screen? Alex?
Yes,
okay, fantastic. Okay, welcome everyone to the webinar today. My name is Andy Bradley. I'm a director at DeltaEE. I'm joined by some colleagues from a colleague from DeltaEE today, but also two really senior people from the industry. I'd like to just perhaps do a brief introduction for everyone on the webinar today from the speakers. I know a few people are still joining. I can see attendees still joining the webinar. So just to perhaps explain a little bit about the technology platform, the GoToWebinar platform we use, you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen a control panel, and one of the options in the control panel is an option to provide questions. So feel free as we go through the presentation to send your questions to us. We will try and pick those up as we go through, and we won't be able to respond to all of the questions, but we'd certainly like to pick up some of the questions as we go through. So feel free to submit your questions on the right hand side. If anyone's got any problems IT-wise, please contact info@delta-ee.com, and hopefully one of my colleagues will be able to resolve any IT issues with people connecting. We're planning to run the webinar for maximum of an hour. We're certainly finished by 1/4 the hour, wherever you are, but we'll probably try and end it a few minutes before then. We know people have often back-to-back sessions, so we'll try and end a few minutes before 1/4 to allow people to stretch their legs before their next appointment. So we run it for about 50 minutes or so. So on that point, I'd just like to briefly introduce my fellow speakers today, starting with perhaps Alex on the left-hand side. Alex, do you just want to briefly introduce yourself and just tell the audience about your role at DeltaEE?
sure, Andy. Thanks. So my name is Alex, and I'm the manager of the New Energy Business Model Service at Delta, investigating propositions and new business model in the new energy landscape. And I'm pleased to be here today.
Thanks, Alex. Ulrike, would you just like to briefly introduce yourself and your role at Vattenfall?
Yes, but I managed to unmute myself. Still fighting with IT here, but it's working well, I guess. My name is Ulrike Hetke. I'm working for Vattenfall, a big international energy company, European energy company. I will tell a bit more about it later. I'm in this company for more than 25 years in different roles. At the moment, I have 2 roles to be complete. I'm the manager of a team called Agile and Project Management. So I'm responsible for 20 project managers and agile coaches in Vattenfall in the business area, customers and solutions. And I'm leading the innovation program of this business area of customers and solutions. And in the innovation program, we have a small international team looking in Horizon 3 innovation. That means innovation a bit more disruptive, a bit more far away from today's business, to see what's going on in the future and what can we do in Vattenfall to contribute. That's about me.
Okay, fantastic.
And I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you, Ulrike. How many years have you been at Vattenfall, Ulrike?
25 years, a bit more than this.
25 years.
Yeah,
so
long time.
A long time. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Emanuela, would you just like to briefly introduce yourself and your role?
Sure. So first of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm Emanuela Sartori. I'm the head of strategic positioning in Enel X Global Retail. I'm working in Enel from 15 years, more or less, and I changed a different role. Here, Enel X is the global business line in Enel. That it is offering to our customer digitalizing, electrification, and other smart solution. So then we will see together how we are supporting our customer in exploring and navigating the energy crisis. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Emanuela. And you just recently changed your role, Emanuela.
Yeah, just enlarging. Yeah, actually, I was previous the head of the market analysis and competitors. Now we are also defining and guiding the strategic direction of Enel X.
Cool, fantastic. Okay, thank you, Emanuela. So just to show the agenda for today. So after some introductions, we'll just talk briefly about the crisis, and we have an audience poll which we'd like to run before we get into the main part of the presentation. And today we're focusing on 3 trends that we think are really important in terms of how the crisis will play out for customers and the energy transition. So looking at empowering customers, the trend of electrification, which is obviously a pre-existing trend, but one that probably will accelerate as a result of this crisis, and finally looking at the sort of green finance that's coming into the space and the business models we see emerging. So those are the 3 trends that we'll be focusing on in the main part of the presentation. But before we go into that, though, just to briefly say something about our respective companies. For those of you that aren't already aware, DeltaEE, we had an announcement on Tuesday this week that we've been acquired by a company called LCP, and we're now part of LCP. LCP have a energy analytics team that focuses on the upstream part of the energy market. So they have software capability that is used primarily by energy traders, particularly in the intraday energy markets. So they have a very strong upstream focus. As many people on the call today, I think, will know, DeltaEE focuses on the downstream part of the energy energy transition market. And so the combination between LCP and DeltaEE really gives us an integrated offering, consulting and research offering across both the upstream and downstream parts of the energy system. And we think this creates a unique offering for companies within the transition space, but actually we think strategically it's a vital part of how the industry needs to be thinking as we go into the energy transition over the years and decades ahead. So it's a very exciting announcement, and I think it opens up many possibilities for our combined businesses to develop new offerings and insights for our customers. There's a press release, there's information on our website about that. We're communicating obviously with our own customers and many of our contacts at the moment about this development. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me directly. And in terms of DeltaEE, essentially it changes nothing. We're still the same business as we were last week. We're still continuing to do the research that we do at DeltaEE across all of these different areas that I know many people on the call are familiar with already, and we will continue to provide that research. By becoming part of the LCP group, we can expand our offerings in new ways and provide new types of support to our customer base. So that's just briefly something about DeltaEE for people who perhaps aren't that familiar, but also to let you know about the new development in our business. And then perhaps just to move on to Vattenfall. And Ulrike, would you just like to give an overview of Vattenfall for those that may not be that familiar?
It's a pleasure. So I think one important thing you need to know about Vattenfall, what is not explicitly on the slide, it is on, I just see it, is that we would like to enable everybody to have a fossil-free life within 1 generation. So that's what should stick to your mind when it comes to Vattenfall. That's what we are here for. That's the purpose of our company. And this is not a sustainable strategy of Vattenfall. That's our business strategy, because sustainability is our business. So that's really important for us. Who are we? We are a leading European energy company, located in a few main markets. So that means in Sweden, that's where we are coming from. So we are 100% state-owned by the Swedish state. We have a lot of business in Germany, in the Netherlands, in Denmark, and in UK. We are serving 7.1 million customers with electricity and have 1.8 million customers with a heat contract. A big electricity grid, so 1 million grid customers, 2.4 million gas customers, and we have more than 80,000 employees in our company, what is quite a number, and it is quite a nice company to work with. We are proud when we are looking into the development of our CO2 emissions and the renewable capacity. You see the CO2 emissions going really, really down. and the renewable capacity really going up. That's what we are working on quite hard and successful. So we came from a history in Sweden, of course, with a lot of hydro, a lot of renewables, some nuclear. But when you look into the Netherlands and Germany, for instance, there has been coal, there has been gas, and we are phasing it out step by step and try to do it as fast as possible. And when you look into the earnings we have, you see all our business areas and all our parts in the company. So I'm from customers and solutions, and that means I'm in the business area in Vattenfall, where we are having the sales, marketing, and customer service parts. We have as well a big part of generation. We have distribution, trading, and all the other things as well. We have a big business area building wind parks, so BA wind and heat, a lot of district heating as well in the big cities. So that's the business we are in. And I think the next slide tells a bit more about our way forward when it comes to this fossil-free living I stated in the beginning. So we have a plan, and we are executing on this plan, how to make it fossil-free and how to make it happen. So we are focusing, for instance, on electric charging. So we really have a big e-mobility area where we are working on, and where we do both on the customer side, having the charging possibilities, but as well public charging that needs to go hand in hand. If you drive, you are not always driving back home in one row, so you're not circling around. It's a bit more than this. We are looking then further into additional flexible hydro capacity. So we are strong in this, and we want to build on this strength. We want to reduce CO2 intense things, have more fossil-free electricity for 30 million homes. We would like to have more renewable energy as well, contracted by PPAs. So that's a big aim we have, more renewables for everybody. We are looking as well into the very, very power intense and CO2 heavy industries. We are quite proud of a project we are running in Sweden. It's called Hybrid, and that's about fossil-free steel. So we have two industry partners from the steel industry, and we are working with them to produce fossil-free steel. So in the whole value chain, no CO2 emissions, no fossil or use of fossil energy sources. And we produced already the first fossil-free steel. So it's real, and by 2026, we want to have it really at full scale. 2030 then, of course, more reduction of CO2 intense industry, phase out of coal completely. So no coal anymore in our portfolio. And we want to operate a biocarbon capture and storage plant. And of course, more to come. So we are looking into the full value chain, reducing the use of fossil energy sources. That's what we are doing.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ulrike. When you say one generation, is that 2040? By 2040?
No, that's within 25 years. So we aim to have it. So 2030 is a big point where we are looking at where we want to have the first step to be CO2 neutral in a way, but fossil free means even more. So within 25 years, we want to be fossil free completely.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you for that brief overview. Emanuela, would you like to just provide an overview for Enel X?
Sure, thank you, Andy. So Enel X is the global business line of Enel based in Rome. We are part of Enel, the Italian group leading the energy transformation and transition. We have 54 gigawatt of RES capacity and distribution network connecting 74 million end users. We hold the largest retail customer base worldwide with 69 million of clients. Enel X in particular is born in 2017, and we have two strategic objectives. The first one is assist our customer through electrification and digitalization, supporting a self-use of energy and a more efficient consumption. The second one we want to achieve is to create new value for our customer through the integration of commodity and beyond commodity product and services. Moreover, we are offering a new valorization to Enel assets. Our new goal has been announced by our CEO, Francesco Starace, during last November Capital Markets Day, and we want to bring our company to net zero forward to 2040. We see in particular electrification as our most trigger in net zero pathway. It means that decarbonized electricity is opening up the main benefit to our customer. And so we are bringing to our customer affordable and clean energy, reliable and safe, with high tech and high quality services. So next slide, please. In particular, Enel X has a solid presence around the world. We continue to expand and to create a zero carbon future. So today we are operating in 28 countries. We offer to our customer that actually are divided, of course, in customer as B2C, so retailer as every one of us, in B2B that are a small commercial and industrial company, but also top and large company, and in government and municipality, to which we offer a series of services and of course as well as the commodity. So for B2C in particular, we combined offering that enable electrification and affordability, and we promote the digitalization to enhance their customer experience. For B2B, we promote electrification and the net zero target, thanks of course to our partnership, and we are targeting of course a 10% of the international multinational customers. And for B2G, for the government and municipalities, we want to be a trusted partner in the electrification of public transport and service sustainable, smart and circular city. And that's it, thank you.
Thank you, Emanuela. I mean, one of the things that always strikes me about your business is, I think many people see Enel as an Italian utility company, but as demonstrated on this slide, particularly on the left, you have a really strong international presence in several continents across the world. So I think that's a really strong aspect of your business, actually. So thank you for the overview of your businesses. I mean, just to sort of tee up the discussion we're having today around the crisis, you know, will this energy crisis help or hinder the transition? And as always, you know, in a crisis, there is opportunity. You know, the crisis is the kind of necessity breeds innovation. So there are different forces, drivers emerging in the market. We've just put some of them on this slide. You know, the whole issue around affordability for customers. You know, the inflation that is starting in energy perhaps will feed through into many other aspects of everyone's lives, particularly with food over the next months. So we've got the sort of affordability issues for customers. We've got the security of supply issues for governments and policymakers, you know, ensuring that customers can stay warm in their homes and the lights stay on. So there might be some tactical, political sort of policy decisions being made that in effect might take us away from net zero goals, at least in the short term. And perhaps from a customer perspective, you know, the awareness that actually the importance of energy for everyone in the lives that we lead has a critical role that perhaps hasn't been recognized over recent years. I read an interesting statistic recently that average customers, I think, engage with their energy supply 8 to 10 minutes per year on average. But during this crisis, we've probably all been watching 7 to 8 minutes of news every day around what's happening in the world, and particularly how that's affecting energy prices. So, you know, that potentially is awakening public interest in the topic and might lead to a higher level of engagement in the future. from customers around some of the new propositions and innovations coming into the market. So there are pressures on both sides of this question, some which might hinder the transition, others which might accelerate it. And perhaps we can run a poll now, but I'd be interested, perhaps Ulrike, to start with you. I mean, how do you see this crisis, this situation playing out so far in the markets and with your customers that you just mentioned when you provided an overview?
Yeah, I think it's perhaps not that much black and white than you think when you initially look into it. So on the one hand, of course, it gives, from my perspective, a big boost that people are more aware of their need for energy. Yeah, they are triggered by high prices. They are triggered as well by fear, because they do not know. Yeah, what is it? What I can expect? Will there be enough gas? Will there be enough energy that I can live my life in a good way? And that's giving, of course, a boost to think about energy, to make energy more relevant, and to have an energy transition. When I'm looking then a bit in what I see from the production side, that might be that yeah, there's a bit of a moment of struggle, I would like to call it like this, because of course we might not be able to go as far as we want to, because there are not all the resources on board. There is of course higher prices, so investment power might be not as much. So it might be that we need to bridge it a bit in a different way than we thought. So I think all in all, when I'm summing this up, there will be an acceleration, but I'm not sure if it's how fast it is, but I think it's positive for the energy transition. That is at least my conclusion.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks, Ulrike. I've launched the poll and I can see the answers coming in, so I'll just leave the poll open and perhaps Emanuela ask you your perspective from Enel X.
From our perspective, this is a real acceleration of the transition. Actually, what we are looking that our customers are demanding for solutions that are actually accelerating this transition and electrification. Our customers want to be part of the transition, so they are not merely see, of course, but they are actively participating. So they were asking for products that will support the energy independence, but at the same time, thanks to which they can participate to the market.
Okay, so do you think in terms of the poll, would you agree with a significant acceleration or mild acceleration?
The significant.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. Well, thanks to everyone who's voted. So I think we've got it's probably about 80 people voted so far. So I'll close the poll in 5 seconds for those that haven't voted. Feel free to submit your answer. So I think I should be able to share the poll, but let me just write the numbers down just in case. 16%, 3%. Okay, so I'll close the poll now. So the answers to the poll, I'm not sure whether I can share it easily, but 39% voted for significant acceleration, 38% for mild acceleration, 4% for no change, 16% for mild slowdown, and 3% for a significant slowdown. So I think there were about 80 people who voted in the poll, for those that are interested. So overall, I think about 3/4 of the audience today have voted for an acceleration of the transition as a result of the crisis, and about 20% for a slowdown, with just a very small number of people sitting on the fence for no change. So I think the audience agrees with you both, Emanuela and Ulrike, in terms of the impact, the positive impact it will have for the future of the transition. Okay, thank you for that. So Alix, over to you, just to perhaps run through some of the research that DeltaEE has been doing over recent times on some of the key trends that we think are important for how this will play out. So just starting with empowering customers.
Yes.
So just quickly run through some of the slides. So just let me know when you want me to move on to the next slide.
Sure, thank you. So yeah, obviously, the crisis, we think, will benefit large-scale infrastructure projects. So we've heard governments talking about nuclear power, we've heard hydrogen, large-scale wind, but all these projects, they take time to build. And we believe that in the meantime, there is a big opportunity arising from customers' new needs for empowering solutions. So basically what we think that energy users are asking now is a better understanding and control over energy use. Basically, the energy user really want to restrict costs. So security of supply is becoming really important, especially if we see gas rationing introduced this winter. And local resilience is becoming a key concern for customers and governments. And there are various solutions that we've been investigating at Delta that could empower customers and help them lower their energy bills. So one of these solutions is energy insights. So apps, tools that are offered by energy suppliers to help customers understand their energy use and their energy bills. And actually what we've seen in the past weeks and the past months is that end users are increasingly spending time on these apps. So according to our research, there are around 30 million users of energy insight apps in Europe. Around 82 retailers are offering energy insight tools, but we expect this number to increase quite sharply because it's a very efficient and low-cost solutions to help end user understand how they use energy. So obviously there are other solutions that you can see on this slides, smart energy controls, smart efficiency programs, whole house retrofits, but really the energy insight apps is the first step to help customers understand their energy use.
Cool.
Yeah, you can go to the next slide, Andy.
Okay.
So flexibility is also a key topic of our research. And we've seen already in 2021, the spend of TSO on demand-side response has increased quite sharply by around 170%. And obviously flexibility will have a key role to play in the current crisis and in the future to cope with the intermittency of generation. And demand side from the customer could also become more and more important. So if you go to the next slide, Andy, we can see that the one before, what we see is that demand response could actually start with time of use tariff. For instance, for customers willing to charge their EV or heat their hot water tanks overnight, static time of use tariff are actually quite interesting. We believe that the energy crisis really has the potential to help customers understand the fact that energy prices is not stable but varies over time, and we believe that customers will gain interest in the topic. Another technology which would benefit from time of use tariff and the energy crisis is battery. It's likely that hardware prices will go down, and it improved the case for solar PV self-consumption, for instance. And obviously, all these solutions comes with smarter control. So we've put some data on home energy management. That's one solution, but we can also talk about other digital solutions like smart thermostat, and all these solutions put together for the end user help them keep control over cost and make the most of static time of use tariff that will really benefit the grid and the end user. So we've done some forecasting around home energy management or appliance optimization. So for instance, just optimizing the charging of your car, of the heating of your hot water tank. And we expect the market really to ramp up in the coming years in Europe.
Cool. Thank you, Alex. And Emanuela, you have a couple of examples, I think, of initiatives, propositions that Enel X is developing. Perhaps you'd just like to explain about the plug-and-play proposition.
Yes, exactly. At Enel X, basically, we always try to find solutions that met our customer needs, overcoming problems that prevent or delay the energy transition. So what the idea behind this photovoltaic panel is that no one in Italy in particular, not everyone has the space on the rooftop to put a PV panel. The reason, of course, is why there are not too many detached houses, the rooftop are very small, and maybe there is not a very nice positioning to catch the solar, the pan. So what we develop is that this little plug and play solution that we put on the balcony. And they can, of course, receive the sunlight every day, and then as our customer can have the benefit to use this energy. This is one of our, maybe you won't believe, actually most demanded product right now. So this is what we were previously talking about. Our customers are demanding for solution easy and simple like this that they can use every day in their house. In addition to this, if you can go to the next slide, before Alex was talking about smart thermostat and their importance, as Enel X, we develop also a way to optimize the energy consumption and control. So our customer can control their load and their consumption with this smart thermostat, but it is actually not a simple smart thermostat. We call it Omic solution. It's a full service and modular smart home ecosystem that is managing all the appliances in your house. Of course, we made a recent study internal that in Europe, if every homes got a smart thermostat, the total carbon emission across Europe that could be actually fall by almost 5%. So this was a really nice impression for us.
And I know I think you launched Homex just before the pandemic started, so a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. What kind of uptake or traction have you had with customers for this proposition?
Actually, customers are demanding. Nowadays, we are seeing that the PV is the most required product. Everyone is asking for PV, together, of course, with the e-mobility vendors' electrification solution. But our smart thermostat also in the pandemic went well. So the sale confirmed the trend that people want, of course, control their loads.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you, Emanuela. And Ulrike, I think you were going to just talk about some of the customer-facing propositions that Vattenfall have developed.
So connecting a bit to my introduction, also to the introduction of Vattenfall to aim for fossil-free living, and within one generation, we are looking, of course, into the whole value chain, into all areas. So net zero by 2040, that's quite an ambition. So we are looking into supply side, into the own operations, but as well, of course, in the customer side, because for us, and especially for the business area, I mean, the customer is centric. We are looking from different perspectives in this. Of course, we are offering solutions for B2B and B2C customers, but we are looking as well into whole cities. So that's what we call sustainable cities. We have quite some city partnerships. One is, for instance, Uppsala in Sweden, where we are together with the city looking into a full solution to make the full city fossil-free by 2030. And we are combining the experience we have from 100 years in the electricity or in the energy industry, from CHP, biomass CHP, for instance, for heating and cooling, as well with new things, micro generation with solar panels and small wind turbines. We look into e-mobility, of course, which is one big business area. We are looking in smart street lights, energy management for real estate companies. So that's the city partnerships, that's a full package. And what we are doing, of course, as well, is that we have for our B2C customers quite some nice solutions in Germany. I can mention NPure, what is a full digital product, 100% fossil-free, and that's something we are offering on an app with a short termination time, so you can cancel it quite fast. You can step in quite fast, and easy to use solution with the guarantee that it's 100% fossil-free. And what is a big topic for us, so in the Netherlands and in Germany, for instance, we sell gas. So I've shown it in the overview, natural gas. You see the situation of today. And of course, we are looking already for a longer time into what to do with it, because our ambition to become fossil-free. But now it's, of course, more important to step out of natural gas and offer new solutions for our customers. And electrification is a big topic for us. And when it comes to the heating propositions, it's heat pumps we are looking into. All sort of heat pumps. We are as well looking into the innovation part of heat pumps. What is new? How can we make it even more efficient, more attractive for our customers? Just to name a few examples from Vattenfall.
Okay. And like Manuela, have you seen an uptake from customers or increased interest from customers over recent times, either I suppose through the pandemic and more recently from the crisis in these types of propositions?
Yeah, with an uptake in some specific teams, actually. Electrification is one of our core teams, of course, as well as Ulrike. So we are perfectly aligned, actually.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Well, thank you for that. It's a very nice segue to the next part of the presentation, which obviously is the electrification trend, which is a pre-existing trend, but it's clearly the trend that we believe will be accelerated as a result of recent market developments. So, Alex, back to you.
Yes, absolutely, Andy. So we expect this trend of electrification, which it will accelerate, as you say. There's worries around gas prices, and we expect that public campaigns, winter gas rationing will actually increase even further the consent from customer. So there's a real stimulus for change at the moment. And if you go to the next slide, we've done some forecasting around different technologies. And what we expect to see is that big winners around EV charging, heat pump, and solar PV. So we think that those will really lead the transition. And obviously, there will be also some construction of new infrastructure, as I've said at the beginning, so nuclear power plants, big upstream plants. But in the meantime, during the construction phase of those big generation plants, all this technology will have a key role to play. And we also believe that they will have a role to play to manage the intermittency of renewable power in the future. So self-consumption of locally produced renewable power will likely play a key role as well in the future.
Cool. Okay, thanks, Alex.
So actually, it links actually quite well with your example, Emanuela, because we've run some analysis on the impact of the energy crisis on PV self-consumption in Europe. So that's just one of the conclusions. If you click one more time, Andy, you can see a little bit the result of our analysis. But basically, what we're seeing in Europe is that across all countries, including the ones where self-consumption didn't really make sense in the past, now the payback time for solar PV is really becoming interesting. So even in borderline markets like Czech Republic, like the UK, it becomes really interesting for the end user to have solar PV self-consumption to lower the cost on their energy bills. And that's even more true if you associate the solar PV panels together with a heat pump, as we've shown on this slide. That becomes really interesting, especially if you have some kind of connectivity or optimization solutions that enables you to actually increase the amount of energy that you self-consume.
What energy prices are used in this chart? I'm sure people are looking at it and wondering, does it apply to a particular year, or have we taken an assumed energy price level for this analysis?
So we've done several different assumptions. One of the modeling was a consistent year-on-year energy price increase. We've also done another forecast using a one-off price shock and then the situation going back to normal. And what we've put on this slide is actually like the worst case scenario in each case. But I think the main conclusion from this research is that what makes the market, the payback scenarios, the most interesting would be a year-on-year stable increase in energy prices.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Alex. So for those subscribers on the call today, this analysis, the full analysis and scenarios that Alex mentioned, are available in the report you see illustrated on the left-hand side of the slide. And then moving on to the last sort of key theme around green finance or new money and new business models that we see actually having a big role to play in terms of transforming the landscape. So Alex.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's a topic that shouldn't be misregarded because we will need a lot of cash to actually enable the transition, although it's becoming more and more interesting to develop new energy proposition. So if you click one more time, Andy, we've done a landscape that illustrates the type of finance that is available nowadays. And we believe that traditional finance, so bank debt, bonds, will not be enough to actually enable the transition. So we'll need more innovative solutions. And we're seeing actually this kind of solutions started to be implemented in the markets. So one example, for example, is crowdfunding. And we're seeing more and more projects which are using crowdfunding as a way to gather cash. Another example is SPACs. We've seen a lot of this type of finance models happening in the past years, especially in the EV charging industry. And we believe that more and more of these innovative scenarios will happen. I think one thing that is not obvious on this slide is the types of public-private partnerships that we will see more and more in the future. Governments alone won't be able to provide all the cash that is necessary for the transition, and the private sector has a key role to play to enable the transition.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you look at this challenge from an end user perspective, and if you go to the next slide, Andy, there are also interesting ways to actually bring solutions to the end user, and one of them is energy as a service. So basically, energy as a service is the idea of providing a solution to the end user, but on a subscription-based model rather than capital purchase model. So more and more, we're seeing companies offering that type of business models. So either with leasing or with more complex solutions around subscription or pay-per-use. So for instance, we have like companies like Onto or Elmo, which offers EV together with maintenance and charging just for a fixed monthly fee. And that's really interesting for the end user because it removes the capital barrier, but also it helps them to understand that the supplier is taking a risk. So the solution is not only risky for them, but also for the supplier. And also it incentivizes the supplier to reduce the energy intensiveness of the solution since it's bearing some of the cost.
Okay, and again, for subscribers, there is a report in the Business Model Research Service available on this topic, so please log into the subscriber website. I was going to ask actually, Emanuela and Ulrike, your perspective on energy as a service. I mean, it's a hot topic and it's been discussed, I think, actually for many years as an offering. I mean, do you see that it will become business as normal in the next 5 years, say, or will it take longer than that? Emanuela, perhaps to ask you to respond first.
Thank you. I think the customer want to be, of course, walked, we can say, in a path of electrification. So the energy as a service business model will emerge. The final question for customer is which would be the financing model linked with the energy as a service. So will customer put the capex? Will the company help the customer with the capex? So we will solve this issue, these hot topics, but at the end of the way, no matter what, if you are a B2C customer, a commercial and industrial, or a government, customer want to be helped in solve their problem.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Ulrike, do you have a perspective on this?
Yeah, I think it was a bit, I was a bit smiling when you said we are discussing it for a couple of years. I think we are discussing it now for 20 years or something at least, yeah. And the perspective on it changes over time, yeah. So when I'm looking into the development of the energy industry or the customer need as well, so the customer in the beginning, when I started working with it, wanted just to have a security of supply and nothing else but this, yeah. And then the question popped up, where does the energy come from, and can I be more in control? And now this question is becoming bigger and bigger. And I think what we as energy companies have is we have more and more pieces of the puzzle in our portfolio, so that we can serve the customer with a broader package EV that's quite new in a way that it gets attention and people want and have it and it's supported. So this development shows me that there will be something about energy as a service, whatever it will be and however we will define it. Yeah, so that's for me a big question. So I like to have a picture here, and of course I have an idea about it. But I think every company needs to define what is energy as a service for us and what can we offer to the customer. I'm sure that the customer will be in a need and will be happy to get more complete packages. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm sure about. Let's see what we do with it and how to make the customer satisfied.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the differences that we see is that while it's been talked about for some years, there are companies actually trying to develop this market now, and in the market with commercial propositions. Some of those companies are on this slide today, but there are companies trying to actually build and establish and scale up this market now, which I don't think was the case even 3 years ago, actually.
Yes. Especially in the sorry, Andy, just wanted to add one thing. I think it's especially true in the leasing area. So I don't think any company would launch a PV system offer without leasing now. It's almost normal now.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you, Alex. Emanuela, I mean, in terms of new business models and sort of new concepts for customers, just thought it'd be really interesting just for you to provide a brief overview of the ecosystem that Enel X is developing for energy communities.
Yeah, exactly. Here, the goal is to make the participant of the community aware of the benefit of the electrification. We are offering to them all our product portfolio. The community can be developed between citizens, between a commercial and industrial customer, or in a city or in a small village. Actually, the successful integration of the energy community with the energy system can unlock additional value. This is why we are developing this concept, offering to our customer, as I said, all our products that can support their decarbonization and electrification. In particular, in our pipeline in Italy, for instance, we have 50 megawatt of energy communities. We already launched in 2021 3 energy community in Sicily, a small island in the south of Italy, and there are 3 community of commercial and industrial customer and 2 community of small cities in Sicily. So among them, we have also launched the first Italian collective agricultural self-consumption energy community in Ragusa, a city in Sicily. So we really believe that this business model will support the transition of our customer, unlocking value for the whole energy system and also the grid stability, of course.
Yeah, okay, fantastic, thank you. Emanuela, that sounds a really fascinating initiative, and it sounds potentially quite scalable across many of your markets, I think. So thanks for all your questions. We'll come on to try and respond to some of the questions in the 10 minutes or so we have left. I mean, just in terms of the summary, I think many of the audience agree with our view that we see the crisis accelerating the transition. We talked about some of the key trends at the top of this slide here, which are pushing forward the transition from the kind of old energy world to the new energy world. I'd be interested actually for anyone who thinks that the crisis is slowing down the transition, if they would like to put in the chat why they think that. It'd be quite interesting to understand, you know, why anyone who voted for a slowdown thinks that will be the case. So feel free to put that in the chat. But we at DeltaEE, we certainly think it is going to have acceleration impact on the transition. You know, our perspective, I think, is that many governments are focusing on the kind of short-term supply issues and missing an opportunity around the demand side at the moment, focusing on energy efficiency, the role for electrification, the role for demand response, and innovation around the customer is something that should be getting a much stronger focus, we believe, than is currently the case. So really, I'd like at this point to just perhaps move on to some questions, and there's a few come in. There was a question about HOMIX actually, Emanuela, earlier on, about just a question, perhaps if you could explain a bit more about the devices that HOMIX controls besides a thermostat. You know, is it a home energy management system? You know, what are the benefits for customers from that proposition?
Yeah. Is it a normal home energy management system? And there is Alexa built-in this smart thermostat, let's call it this. And of course, it works that it is small like this, more or less. And of course, it works that it can allow all the equipment in your house to be controlled. So they should be linked to this smart thermostat, smart management system, and of course it will control your loads. If you want, I can send via Delta also other information. They are all public and available on our site.
Yeah. So Emanuela, your contact details were on the first introductory slide. So if anybody would like more information on HOMIX, I think feel free to contact you directly at Emanuela. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Alix, there was a question around the self-consumption calculations you showed. Does it include EV? Are EVs included in the self-consumption calculation?
So it's a very good question. We haven't looked at the case of EV charging together with solar PV. And the reason we did that is because we know that the case for EV is even better than the one for heat pumps. So we decided to investigate heat pumps first. And from the conclusion that we had, it means that it's even more interesting for EVs. And in the future, we might actually investigate more in details EV together with solar PV.
Yeah, okay, understood. And there was a question on relying on electricity for heating purposes. It was directed for you, Ulrike, but I know it's a topic we've talked about many times, the impact of electrification and how to avoid peaks in the electricity system, for example, during a heat wave, for cooling, as well as heating. Do you have any view on the role of demand side management and how that interacts with the electrification trends for heating?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very relevant question and a big topic for us as well to look into how to steer it in a good way and how to provide flexibility to our customers. Yeah, so What we are working on is really having a good view on how we can give the power to our customers more or less to decide to consume energy when it's cheap, and that means when it's available, and to avoid too much of a use of energy when the prices are high. And we are looking into solutions to steer assets, to steer charging, to really combine the steer or the possibility to steer all your equipment at home, the heat pump, but as well your light, your charging pole, whatsoever, combined with a commodity contract, which allows you to do so. To really have a good management of your own electricity consumption. And of course, it's even more complex when you have the self-produced energy. So if you're a prosumer, how we call it, then you have another addition on this. So we are looking into solutions for this, and we are convinced we can create a win-win situation, really, that the customer benefits from it by having the lower prices, and the system benefits from it to be better in balance. I think, I'm not sure, I do not have a big study about this, but my personal opinion is, of course, it will not go without further investments in the network. That's something which needs to be done sooner or later, because of the volatility we have in the market. So it's you can do a lot on the demand side, but I think finally you need to have some investments as well, because the production side, so the supply side, will become more and more volatile because we are going more and more into renewables.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Of course, then you need to look into solutions, batteries, whatsoever. So it's a big and complex system, but I think there's a lot in the pipeline we can do, and we are doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we totally agree with that. I mean, we think one of the key trends of the transition will be the sort of shift in value from kilowatt hours to kilowatts. Capacity will become more and more important, and how capacity is valued going forward will be part of the way the energy system needs to adapt to the way that increasing volumes of non-dispatchable renewables are coming onto the system, for sure. Conscious of time, we've just got 2 or 3 minutes left. Having said we wouldn't take an hour, we've almost taken an hour. As always, there's lots of things to talk about. Perhaps Emanuela, Ulrike, just one question to end really for yourselves, your perspective. I mean, when you look at your businesses, sort of energy retail, sort of customer-facing businesses, how different do you think those businesses, your business, or you can speak generically about these types of business in Europe, how different do you think they might be in, say, 5 years' time? Will the customer experience be slightly different from today? Will it be radically different from today? How do you, when you look forward, how quickly do you see the evolution of the way that energy suppliers provide and support their customers and engage with their customers over the next few years? Perhaps Emanuela, let's just start with you. Just a brief remark on your view on how you see it, perhaps in 5 years' time.
Yeah, actually, customers are used to what we say free, instant, and now. So they want everything instantly and free, and also with the best customer experience. So I think that of course, as an electricity company, as a utility, we should align to what actually are the standard of our customer in other sectors. So I buy something on Amazon, I should have the same simplicity on the electricity side. So I wonder that actually in 5 years' time we will get there.
Yeah.
We will get there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So energy is no different from any other consumer good that customers buy. Yeah. Okay. And Ulrike, do you have any view on that?
Yeah, I think we made already quite a step. Yeah, from having energy as a commodity which is just there and being a very price-sensitive product to a more complete package. And so we talked as well about the trends to servitization, so energy as a service. I think that will continue. I think customer expectation will further change. Price will still be a trigger, I think. but a different one, because I think there will be more awareness of energy and more an expectation on service, on packages, on solutions. Yeah, not that much just some electricity in the socket, but solutions for what I need as a person in my home. Mm-hmm. That will be the question of the customer we need to answer.
Yeah, okay. So becoming more and more customer centric, focused on the customer. Yeah. And Alex, do you have any view on that finally?
I agree with everything that's been said. Yeah, I think the transition is a transition from towards more customer-centric options, and it's true for the technology, it's true for the business model, for the finance options, pretty much for everything.
Yeah.
And energy suppliers would probably have the main role to play there to enable this transition and offer the right solutions to the end user.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you, Emanuela. Thank you, Ulrike, for giving us some time today and sharing your perspective. It's been really fascinating to talk with you about these issues. And thank you everyone in the audience who's listened in. I hope you found that useful and interesting. We will be sending the slides afterwards, so you should get those. There's been many questions that we haven't addressed directly. Apologies for that, for lack of time, but I'm very happy to engage with people individually afterwards. So feel free to reach out to myself or Alex at DeltaEE if you'd like to discuss any of these topics further. Obviously, there's more information about all of our research at DeltaEE on our website, and be very happy to engage with anybody who wants to discuss about that. But thank you everyone for your time. Thank you, Emanuela. Thank you, Ulrike. Thank you, Alex. And hope everyone has a good rest of the day. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.